And recording this now? That's fine.
Stop and redo.
No, we don't.
We definitely have to stop and redo.
See, he's quiet. It's fine.
That's because we're talking over the sound of him eating plastic.
Well, we would be talking over him generally anyway.
And welcome back to the Movie Bros podcast. We're actually in a different location right now, and we may possibly be competing with a dog.
And we're sharing
supremacy.
And we're sharing one mic because someone didn't realize his mic didn't work on his laptop.
I'm house sitting. It's not my fault.
Anyway, again, this is the weekly we watch movies, we talk about movies. I feel like it's super original. You've never heard of another podcast doing such a thing.
Nope, never been done before. We're the first.
With that in mind, the movie we're reviewing this week is the original X-Men. It came out in 2000. You may or may not know it was directed by Bryan Singer. He did a lot of the other X-Men movies.
As well as Jack the Giant Slayer.
Didn't see it.
You missed absolutely nothing. And a few other things which are equally forgettable. If you recognize his name at all, it is because he made the first two X-Men movies.
What else did he do?
I literally didn't write anything else down because there's nothing of note.
So, okay, well, never mind.
If you know his name, currently it's either for the X-Men movies, or you remember the fact that he got a handful of Me Too allegations about 6 or 7 years ago, and so he quietly disappeared from Hollywood. However, this was 24 years ago.
24?
I started saying 25 and realized that was wrong and tried to fix it halfway through the word. This was 24 years ago, back when maybe it wasn't as known what was going on, and he was still pumping out solidly good hits.
I would call this solidly good. It's not my favorite X-Men. I mean, not to burst the
not to jump the gun and all.
Or yeah, not my favorite X-Men, but like
of the original Hugh Jackman X-Men, this is probably not my favorite either, but it's certainly not the worst.
No, X2 is definitely the best.
X2 is definitely the best. X3 is definitely the worst.
It's not.
X3 is some hot garbage.
We're gonna rewatch it. It's fine.
That being said, we're not going to be doing a series. We're not going to.
I would say
be the X-Men podcast. We do still have a movie wacky wheel, which will pick a random movie for us.
It's called a wacky wheel.
I don't want to call it a picker. It sounds weird.
No, it's a tick. Isn't it a ticker?
That sounds worse. It's the wacky wheel. We're not calling it the movie ticker.
Wacky. Okay.
The movie ticker sounds completely suspect as a phrase.
Anyway,
if you remember our last episode, it actually gave us challengers, which we then figured out we don't actually have a way to watch. So we re-rolled it and we watched X-Men instead. This is the solid planning and structure which you are here to enjoy.
And what you've come to know and count on and depend on, yes.
Absolutely. Only the highest production values here.
Is there any other rough facts about the movie, Hayden, you wanted to share before we get into just general thoughts?
Before we jump right in, so this was written by, again, Bryan Singer. He is writing and directing credits, but also this was written by David Hayter.
David Hayter.
Well, you see, you say that. If you know that name, you know him as the voice of Solid Snake from the Metal Gear Solid series, who is infinitely more known for that. When his name popped up as an opening credit, I was like, there's no way it's the same guy. It's the same guy. He pops up in both this one and the second one as a writing credit. Like, that's...
Yeah, why not?
I mean, it's cool. It's just...
He's allowed to do other things.
You know, I checked with his mom. He is allowed.
Okay.
He said he could go out to play, but it's just odd that you don't normally see that. I mean, even with like actors, you don't normally see them taking on writing credits. Sometimes you'll see them as directors.
Sure.
But usually not as screenwriters.
That's very true.
Music is by Michael Kamen, who was...
What was that last name?
Kamen. Kamen.
Okay.
Like the islands.
Okay.
He never became very largely known.
Not a big guy?
No, he was a small
statured.
He was a short king.
Okay, all right.
If you recognize any of his music, it's probably the Band of Brothers theme, or it's the music from Iron Giant. Other than that, he really flew under the radar and didn't become as big of a name as perhaps he wanted to. Even in the other X-Men movies, he gets replaced by a personal favorite of mine, John Ottoman. who's done a few Superman movies. He's done some Star Wars stuff. He's a very talented composer as well. And then that's all I have down for interesting credits. I'll be honest, we take notes as we watch the movie, and this was such a nostalgic movie for me. I really just got caught up in reliving the enjoyment I had back when I was 10 years old and I saw this in the theaters. So I kind of forgot to focus.
Is that all you wrote?
I literally wrote down the writing, directing, and
That's it?
credits, and I jumped through to stars because might as well go through them. This is a hugely stacked cast.
But I don't know if they were huge at the time.
Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart were.
Well, yeah, but
Pretty
they were
much
more.
everyone else.
They were more dramatic, like thespian actors, weren't they?
That's very true.
I don't know if they were big movie actors.
Ian McKellen was, because at this point, Fellowship of the Ring had come out.
Okay.
But they were filming 2 and 3 kind of simultaneously.
Mm-hmm. I thought they filmed all 3 of them at the same
time. Bits and pieces of it. So, if I remember correctly, they filmed Fellowship all the way through, and also started number 2, just so they could kind of get their production company to continue funding them. It's like, hey, look, we're not done yet. Please give us more money. We're successful, I promise. Other than Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart, a lot of these people were unknowns.
Sure.
Hugh Jackman, I believe this was his, obviously this is the role everyone knows him for.
Yeah, but I think it was also his first,
this was like his big breakout role.
Mm-hmm.
Famke Jensen.
Oh.
Jean Grey.
Dude. In caps, Jean Grey is a babe.
Oh my god. And I would also like to say, not just in this role, she is super hot as a villain in GoldenEye, playing the definitely not cheesily named Xena Onatopp.
I mean, I feel bad. This is kind of a separate subject, but I feel bad for, what's his name?
We're always on topic here. It doesn't matter.
Is it Pierce? Yeah, Pierce Brosnan, because I feel like he got stuck with such I like him.
3 good Bond
I
movies.
like him as a Bond, but he got stuck with a lot of just cringe.
He got stuck with a lot of the late 90s, early 2000s.
Exactly.
Movies, and that also show up in here a little bit.
Yes.
But
well, speaking of that, to keep this on subject, the opening title sequence, I wrote opening titles almost indistinguishable with the Spider-Man Raimi ones, because it's all
especially the third one where they do the insides of Sandman turning into sand.
Yes, all the cells and DNA and molecules and
Fox / Marvel, even though Marvel wasn't really the entity we know it as today.
Sure.
We're absolutely obsessed with essentially doing what I can lovingly describe as 90s screensaver art for their opening titles.
Which, I was here, especially at the time, I was like, this is the coolest shit ever.
Oh my god. That's what I have written down. I was like...
I thought you didn't write anything.
I didn't write a whole lot of credit information. I have some stuff written down.
Okay. I thought you literally wrote nothing. I was like,
no.
Sir?
I have stuff written down.
Okay.
I just neglected to write down any stuff you can Google information.
Stuff you can Google?
Like the IMDb information. I didn't write a whole lot of
We're not an IMDb podcast, Dave.
Perhaps you are not. I try to open up at least some of the episodes with, okay, here's some information. Here's where you might know these people. Yada 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 yada. However, we are now through the yada yada, and we're now on to our just generalized thoughts about them.
When it very first opened, because we had just seen Deadpool and Wolverine, I was like, oh man, R.I.P. 20th century, because it showed the same starting. I was like, oh, honey. Patrick Stewart is awesome. I like
the back and forth dialogue of Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen is so good in this.
Earlier on,
if there is any moment in this script okay, we gotta cook. It's all of their scenes.
We gotta cook.
I'm hip with the kids,
okay.
yo.
Well, it's in my stop. Jesus Christ. Early on,
I don't know what that means.
Early on in my notes, I was like, Patrick Stewart is awesome, dude. And then much later, I was like, Ian McKellen, the GOAT. So yes, the combination of those two, they're fantastic.
Big shout out to the hair and makeup department. Everyone has got Ian McKellen got the wild sticking up hair. You've got Logan with absolute perfect.
I also wrote later on, how does Hugh make that haircut actually look good? Like,
Because it's not too extreme.
it's not too extreme, but like, it's not super normal.
He does have owl points.
But it still looks good, is the
It
thing.
does.
With the Auschwitz stuff in the beginning, which, yeah, I know that's from the comics, but like, what was this? I didn't look it up. What was this rated? I don't think it's PG.
Oh, this was PG-13 at the time. I mean, because you got Logan stabbing multiple
people, yeah, but like, there wasn't it wasn't. I don't know.
I think about this kind of thing regularly, where if you released this today, it probably wouldn't get a PG-13 rating. You could probably skirt this under PG. Just like,
yeah.
I remember at the time, it was a big deal for me to watch The Matrix, like the original one, because that's a rated R movie.
It is?
For the time in 1999, that was seen as a very violent action movie. Like,
I get it.
Which it is, but like, I can turn on Fortnite and see more violence. I can turn on any gaming console and see more violence.
Did you... What? Did you say Fortnite?
For the record, I've never played Fortnite. It was just the first thing that came to mind.
How old are you? You're making all these references. I'm like, dude...
I forgot my hearing aid and glasses at home.
Exactly. Okay, Jesus. Also, apples and oranges, potatoes and tomatoes.
No. You literally wrote that down?
I wrote this down. I can't even remember what we were talking about. And Hayden made this... Instead of saying apples and oranges, he was trying to do this potatoes and tomatoes reference.
We were comparing this and the original Spider-Man movie.
Okay, that's what it was. And I was like, dude, that's just A, not a saying, but B, what the fuck?
Why are we here? Just to suffer.
Yes. The metal clanging sound.
Whenever Wolverine punches someone, there's a little steel on steel.
Yes, it's when he's in the like cage match at the very beginning when he's in Canada.
In the Thunderdome scene where they're in Alaska?
I thought it was Canada because he's getting paid in Canadian dollars.
I thought it was just because he was Canadian. What? I realized it was stupid as soon as I said it.
So let's say I'm Hispanic and I live here. Are you only going to pay me in pesos?
Yes.
Or if I go to Paris, I'm still getting paid in pesos?
Yes. If you as a Hispanic person move to the Netherlands, you have to be paid in pesos.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not the only one that's audibly witnessing.
Oh my god, please can we circle on back? Just move on. This is not the embarrassing episode.
Okay. When Hugh Jackman's at the bar, I wrote down the Calverine Stogie vibes because he's got the big stogie the whole time. I was like, this gives me... If you don't know what that is, Google it or go watch Deadpool and Wolverine.
Or listen to our podcast episode 2 episodes ago.
Dude, good plug.
Or find us on our social media.
Okay, all right.
Hit that like button and hit subscribe.
I don't like Rogue's accent. I know she's supposed to have an accent because she does in the comics. I don't like it. I really don't like it.
I don't like her voice in general in this movie. It's not the actress's fault. I guarantee you this is just the way she was written and the way she was directed. But like, she is... What I written down. She is so annoying in this. She is a burden the whole movie. It's grating the whole time.
Well, even I was like, does she not know how to unclip a seatbelt? When like the car's on fire and she's like pulling on the whole seat when there's and it shows there's
a button.
Yeah, it's. I also wrote leather. Am I right?
So
when he's looking at the suits, it's just...
So the story behind that is, speaking of The Matrix, it had just come out, and their executives, when they're pitching Exxon, they're like, the first Matrix is super popular. They all wore leather. You have to put them in leather. No one will watch us in there in tights. Which is why there's a line saying, would you rather us wear yellow spandex?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why they're all in head-to-toe shiny.
It feels like it wouldn't be maneuver. It wouldn't be like... It wouldn't be, I guess, agile or something? Like, they wouldn't be able to move and breathe in them?
It probably wouldn't be as flexible if they were in those outfits the whole time. Like, so now that we've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, would you like to have seen Jackman in that costume that we now have seen him much older in the yellows and blues? Would you prefer to have seen that style of suit in this movie?
No. I could have seen maybe a blend of the two. Like the brown and orange or brown and yellowish
The John
one.
Byrne one.
Yeah, but I'm sure I could see how they could have taken Jesus. They could have
Taken 3.
they could have taken that kind of at least like fit, and then it's changed it maybe to the leather. I mean, at least that's kind of like a combination of the two. I also wrote, oh yeah, the evil secret lair. Dope,
Oh.
dude. Fucking dope.
So one thing I have written down here is, in many ways, this is a more like comic booky movie. It's everyone has like shiny, flashy capes on, and Storm has like I think she wears like shiny go-go boots through almost all of her Ellis Island fights, and Magneto has like an evil villain lair, and this to me feels more like they adapted a cartoon rather than they made a comic book live action in a way. It's more embracing of the goofy nature of what's going on.
Sure, but I also at least felt like the bad guys. At least it felt like a evil brotherhood.
Yeah, there's
Like the new movies that are the more recent ones that came out. I don't know. I don't feel like they're that evil. Like this feels like
I don't,
evil, like with a big neon sign.
Yes,
Which
yes.
sometimes, especially in this kind of like comic booky movie, I kind of prefer.
Going through my notes, I just have written down Famke Janssen is a babe again. I don't know why I wrote it down twice.
Well,
It's still true.
I said Halle Berry, a babe.
Also true. I mean, there's a lot of hot people. It's like, even if you're into dudes, like every dude in this is handsome.
Oh, hey.
I'm not saying I'm just saying.
I did say the mansion is exactly what I feel like it should be.
I have the same thing written down. I
Yeah.
mean, both from the shiny interior
Yes.
to the
All parts.
all the dark, like
Yes.
when I think of how this
Like when he
looks
comes out of the elevator, I'm like, oh,
in-
this makes sense.
In the 90s comics that I really, really enjoyed, this is exactly how I wanted the mansion to look, and it's still how I think it should look. Like when it shows up in Deadpool 2, when they're carting him around in like a wheelchair, it still looks great.
There was a scene that they could have cut out, and I loved the scene, but they didn't need it. Can you have any guesses what the scene is, Hayden?
Is it Stay Away From My Girl?
No, that's fantastic. And well, no, they're also building that like whatever love triangle thing between Cyclops and any other guesses?
Is it Rogue in the classroom with the fireball behind the student's chair?
I mean, that's rough CGI, but also no.
No, I don't.
It's Wolverine on the bike where he hits the nos.
No.
Where he's just
The Shadow the Hedgehog scene, because that's literally all it is.
like,
You got the motion blur, you've got the butt rock playing in the background. I'm pretty sure they type in Nickelback.
no, but I'm like,
it's great.
what was there was no, like, again, like, it's him, like, catching up with Rogue as she runs away, but, like, I feel like they didn't need this. I feel like they could have cut this out.
Playing devil's advocate, how would you explain how he got there so quickly?
He rides fast? I don't know. I feel like you could have just shown him riding the bike, like, up to the train station, and that would have been fine.
Probably so, but it wouldn't be as fun.
Exactly. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I like it, but it's not needed.
So, speaking of Stay Away From My Girl, I just want to complain in general. All 3 of the quote-unquote original X-Men movies, they do Cyclops so dirty.
In the comics, he was the X-Man.
Oh yeah, I mean he's so
He was
much
the
more
leader.
of a capable leader. He's a good strategist. Like he's stop.
I'm just picking dog hair off my microphone.
It's not going to create a problem. Not being OCD about my boy.
Will you keep talking? Jesus Christ.
I just feel like he's so much more fleshed out and interesting as a character in pretty much any other iteration. Whether it's the books, whether it's the X-Men 97, which came out recently.
Didn't see any of it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
In this, he's really just boiled down to
Her boyfriend?
her boyfriend. I'm in a love triangle. I have to hate Wolverine.
Yes.
That's his entire character.
But James Marsden, I mean, come on.
I mean, James Marsden, again, everyone looks great.
Where are all the hot people?
Apparently, they're in upstate New York in a secret mansion.
Speaking of the mansion, again, you and I referenced this when you were watching this, but if Mystique just has access to
It blows my mind. that this was a plot point that they put in.
Like she
Please set the
masks.
scene,
Hold
because
on.
if I
Okay.
explain this, I'm gonna just be angry.
So there's a point where Rogue is convinced by quote unquote Bobby to run away, and that's how Magneto gets to her. But then Bobby is revealed to be Mystique, like the shape shifting mutant who's part of the bad guys, and like she's just in and around the mansion. So if again disconnecting very linear, very easy dots, if she has access to this mansion, Magneto has access to this mansion, which means why was this all this cloak and dagger? Like, oh, we got to get her to leave, and like all of it's just what a waste of time.
How was Magneto's entire plan in this? We have to sneak in, pretend to be Iceman, and deliver the evil goop, and then leave.
Oh, I did write not the evil goop,
Like they. So
which that whole
we
scene
are
again. You didn't.
referencing that they put like green food dye into Cerebro,
Yeah.
gave all the telepaths a headache or something. Just like, how is that the plan? You
Oh, yeah,
have someone who
there
can
was-
sneak in, pretend to be anyone. You don't think, you know what? I'm a villain. I should just assassinate somebody.
Uh-huh.
I get that we are a silly comic book movie at this point. Like, that's fine. Come on, think it through. Like, how was this the plan of we have an easy through line to get to our main adversary, but we're not going to stop them in any permanent way? That's just that I very clearly remember when we were just watching this, I had you pause it so I could have a small meltdown about this, because that's insane.
Well,
That's insane as a plot point. That
bad
they
writing.
thought it was. They grind the plot to a halt to do this. By the way, like there are action scenes that they stop so that they can show him delivering the evil goop. Like this is
love the goop, dude.
like just that's nuts. That's nuts to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
The next thing I've got is until towards the end. So if you have anything else you have to fill in,
I also just have some ending notes because again, this was a very nostalgic movie to rewatch for me, and I kind of just got caught up in rewatching it. I have a few more things written down, but they're not like huge consequence things. I like how Magneto's written. I
do too.
In pretty much any iteration, what they get correct is that at some point you agree with it.
To a certain degree, yes.
Like these are always very, very smartly written to the point where you see his side, and at some point you agree with him, and then they make him, push beyond it and become more obviously a villain. Like whether it's the Michael Fassbender version as well.
Oh yeah, I like his version too. Actually, I don't know if I like one.
I don't know if I like it more.
No, I don't. I don't think I like it more. But there are a couple scenes where like Ian McKellen is a little more like I would
I'm
say.
a gravitas.
Well, no, yeah, he's a little more like subdued. He's not so overly emotional or like energetic.
The scene in Days of
Future Past where they're on the airplane. Yes, Hayden, we've both seen the same clip on Instagram or whatever. Yes,
You're reading my mind, boy.
Yes. No.
Yes.
Yes. That was literally exactly
Like,
what I was thinking.
that's a great scene.
Yes.
Just like James McAvoy as young.
Oh, I like him as Xavier too. Yeah.
I just wish X-Men Apocalypse was so much better.
We'll watch it and maybe it's better on review, but it's still probably
I guarantee you it is not.
Either way,
there's no amount of dressing Olivia Munn up like Psylocke that can save that movie.
dude, she oof.
Even that cannot paper over the cracks in that plot.
Yeah, the movie is not great, but like, Anyway,
I'm such a fan of cinema. Olivia Munn and skin tight
okay,
leather.
all right. Jesus, we sound like we got to move out of the basement soon enough, and
Come back to the basement.
I did write. So he stabbed Sabretooth like 9 times when they were fighting on top of the Liberty set, which cool fight scene.
It is a cool fight scene,
but also like
the one part where he gets thrown off of Liberty.
Oh yes, and
he catches himself on one of
like the
spikes and
yes,
somehow makes a complete 360-degree turn, hanging on by his claws. Like that's cool, but also extremely questionable in the logic.
Yeah, there's especially since his claws are
supposed to be like the sharpest thing on Earth.
Yeah, can cut through anything. How would it like?
how would there be enough drag to hold it?
Exactly, wouldn't just cut straight through. But that's all I had, because again, I was probably similar. There's a couple points where I just kind of got caught up in it.
So one thing I have is, the last couple things I have is the whole fight scene in like the Ellis Island like museum, if you will, the gift center, whatever it is,
Yeah.
feels very like Adam West Batman. There's lots of exaggerated punches.
There are.
It's very goofy, but it's really really fun, and it feels like that's something that Marvel has either lost or they've leaned way too hard into. Like they don't know how to find a good balance with that anymore.
Sure. Granted, that can happen in 24 years.
25. It's a callback.
I hate it here.
This is why we don't record in person.
Yeah, usually. What would you rate this out of 5, given half stars included?
See, that's difficult.
It is
for me.
It is.
So like,
because if you're including nostalgia or
for
not,
a nostalgia scale, this is a solid 4.5 out of 5 for me. Like, I have very fond memories of watching this in theaters as a young comic book fan. At like
in
10 years.
theaters.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm almost positive we saw this, or at the very least I did. I don't.
Hayden, you would have only been like
5.
It came out in 2000.
Yeah,
I would have been 4. You would have been 8. There's no way either of us saw this in theaters. 8 years old. There's no way they saw it.
Well,
there's no way. Just say.
I have good memories of watching this very young. I loved it then. I still had a very good time now. If I had to like actually think of this, is this a good movie or not? This is a solid 3 out of 5 for me. There's a lot of weird scenes that don't really have anything to do with what's going on. There's a lot of extremely questionable CGI with a lot of the Blackbird sequences. Very weird.
Yeah.
The water particles don't always work very well. Mystique's eyes, the flashy like thing where her eyes pulse yellow.
Yes.
That is uncanny. Every time it happens, it never looks quite right.
I would probably give it
like
a 3 out of 5.
It's a solid 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's
I would agree.
not great. If you want the great one, you go for number 2.
It's weird. Like,
Which
feel
again,
like
I also haven't watched in a long time, so maybe I'm wrong.
That's my thing. I was like, I bet it's better, but I still bet like we were gonna rewatch. We're like, some of this is not aged so well.
No, I do think that this is where even on the comic side, it starts to become about Wolverine and nothing else. Like this one is not as heavy as it got, but like as it goes on, Wolverine becomes the main character, whether he should be or not.
Well, I think they're realizing what people were interested in. I think that probably from after the first one came out, they're like, oh, they really like that Wolverine character. Let's do more with him.
You know, I mean, whoever the casting agent was, you know, just thank you for finding Hugh Jackman.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he is.
He's gone on to do
the perfect casting for this.
He is, and also like he's gone on to do.
Everyone in this was really well picked.
Yeah, especially for the time. But I mean, I wonder if he didn't get this, would he gone on to even do like Prestige or? So I'm just thinking like, would he, had the opportunity to do other things?
All right, here's something I would think of then. If you were to release this movie now,
yes,
and you couldn't use any of these same actors, who would you recast to make this same movie again?
I would maybe, I don't know. What I think worked well for this when it came out is almost everyone was a no-name. Like there's a few big people, but like everyone I think of, if I put them in, I'll be like, oh, I'm looking at so-and-so, not looking at
a good point.
The character. That's why all these newer properties that are just using people who are already famous,
they don't work out as well.
They don't work out as well because you can only see them as the person, but not as the character.
That's very true. So because even I'm thinking, okay, I could get Taron Egerton.
I was literally thinking Taron. That's
Wolverine.
That's who I thought.
Well, because I mean, that's been a
running thing.
That's been a fan cast for a while now.
It's either him or Henry Cavill.
Also, weirdly enough, they also threw
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe in there as well, which is an odd choice.
I don't know.
I think once you're Harry Potter, it is insanely difficult to see you as anything else.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
that's the problem.
you
Just
gotta.
like
That's why I think that when they did like the first Thor movie, where they cast like Thor and Loki,
oh yeah, they were
total no
both
names.
both unknown actors.
Yeah,
well,
that's
I mean,
was
Kevin
the right
Feige
call.
got incredibly lucky.
Yes. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think that's as much of an answer I can give you for that.
So
if someone saw this and they liked this, what would you recommend beyond this besides X-Men 2?
besides X-Men 2,
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they are different. One's potatoes and one's whatever I
Tomatoes?
said. One's
you stupid fuck. God damn it.
It's gonna be a thing now. I'm gonna say it every episode just to piss you off.
I think that might have to be like the.
I mean, yes,
the caption for this one is just potatoes and tomatoes.
Oh, I'm tired.
Yeah, me too.
So yes, one's potatoes, one's tomatoes, but
Sure.
like they're both superhero movies of the same era, and they both kind of have the same.
They give
vibe,
off the same quote unquote vibe.
Like they're both brand new at what they're doing, and there's a lot that doesn't work, but there's a lot that comes out on top and actually shapes how we view the genre today, which is kind of crazy to think about. That if this hadn't gone well, we might not have the superhero genre as we know it.
Yeah, maybe not. That's quite possible. All right. From there, should we take a look at our wacky wheel?
We're gonna call it the wacky.
I fucking hate that.
Fine. If I get my ridiculous catchphrase that you hate, you can call it whatever you want.
Well, literally, it's called thepickerwheel.com.
Fine.
So it's a picker. You can stow what kind of thoughts you have beyond that yourself. We might keep it with that name. We might not, and also we might spin this and like what we pick, and that would be the horrible spinning sound that doesn't really sound like spinning. True history of the Kelly gang. This is Russell Crowe and the guy from 1917.
This was John C. Reilly.
No.
In any event, we will find out. This is through HBO Max. We don't need to research it now. It's for another episode.
I just want to make sure it's actually available.
Yeah, it's on HBO Max.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I added this.
I thought I did.
One of us did.
Well, no shit, dude.
It was Freddy. It's Duncan's dog.
See, I don't think.
Well, I'll be damned.
Hold on. Movie. I mean, again, like Holt, Charlie Hunnam, Russell Crowe.
I like Charlie Hunnam.
Oh, I did too. It's fucking loading, and it's very slow. Got a lot of tabs going.
Do you have dial-up? What are you using, bro?
We might. No, Sling TV. You have that paper. We might be able to watch it on Roku. Here,
we can watch this on Roku on Sunday.
We'll check to make sure.
Yes.
Either way,
our next episode is going to be True History of the Kelly Gang,
or something else.
No. We are committing to it this time. We are not going to challenge her this.
Well, I mean, considering I had to sit through, we're all going to the World's Fair. Yeah.
I also had to sit through that.
I'm glad we tried to expand our base, though. Otherwise, if you have suggestions, obviously, as always, leave a comment or shoot us a DM. We're on Instagram at _moviebros. Our Spotify is the Movie Bros Podcast. We are aiming for a weekly release. It might be on a Sunday, it might be on a Wednesday, it might be on another day. We don't really have a concrete plan because we're still figuring it out.
But usually it's one of those 2 days. And remember, your suggestions will always jump the line if it's not completely a troll comment.
Sure. And I know you've heard this from literally every podcast or anything you've ever heard, but it does help us reach new audiences. If you want to give this a good review, if you want to give this a little bell notification so you get alerted when we post new stuff. But the best way to really help us is to tell people. So if that's, hey, tell your coworker that you're listening to a dope podcast while you're doing your work, or
Tell your coworker you're listening to a medium level quality podcast as well. We might not always be dope. Who knows?
Always dope.
Always dope.
That being said, if the audio is maybe a little bit off this one, we do apologize. We are sharing a mic.
We are sharing the one mic. Usually we are in two different places and we're recording separately and then combining them,
which I find might work actually better, but
you won't get this back and forth.
There's going to be back and forth always, but you might see on our Instagram story, I might take a photo of our setup right now because it is us hunched over one microphone with like mood lighting in our parents'
next time I'll get
room.
Candles.
Yes, we're definitely going to need candles for sure. Some incense. Otherwise,
hang a tapestry or two.
Okay, it's been fun. We are where are we at here? 36 minutes. I feel like that's fine.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Oh, did you want to quickly talk about you watched?
Well, actually, why don't you do a quick rundown of anything you may have watched recently? I know. So, for our listeners, Duncan also has his own separate podcast where he does essentially what we're going to do right now in this segment. He does as a separate entity.
Yeah. So, basically, thank you for saying that. Basically, every week I upload. It's usually it's fairly short. It's somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes of me just rambling about what I watched that week. It's called Dunk's Movie Corner. Again, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Spotify. I think I've got 6 weeks banked of episodes. So yeah, that's just where I kind of talk about what I watched. Either mostly movies, sometimes shows. I'm so goddamn glad that I'm done with Dexter after 8 seasons. That was just a time suck.
Didn't you love that ending?
Oh boy.
It's so bad, right?
It's so bad. Either way, recently I've been rewatching the Star Trek movies. So Star Trek Into Darkness, not the older ones, but the newer ones. But hey, the music is fantastic.
So you can't see my expression just then.
He got way too excited.
I really, really love the Shatner Star Trek movies.
I don't give a shit about the Shatner stuff. I own
all of them in like special edition physical copies. I love them so much.
They're garbage.
I'm gonna beat you to death.
No, dude, Chris Pine is great.
I'm gonna kill you with a mallet.
Either way, I saw those. I watched The Spectacular Now, which is Miles Teller, Shailene Woodley, whatever her name is.
Shailene?
Whatever her name. Either way, it was very meh.
It's like from Divergent.
It's a detergent, yeah.
Yes, the laundry movies.
It's just like a coming-of-age romance. It was not good. Yeah. I watched The Terminal, which I did not realize it's a Steven Spielberg movie.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Totally
it's really good.
It was very good. And Catherine Zeta-Jones is in it. A babe.
Again, if you need any convincing to watch the Zorro movies,
oh man,
watch it for her in the plot. She's beautiful.
Either way, that's the last 4 or 5 days or so of movies. Yeah, roughly.
So I don't have
that kind of repertoire, but
for whatever reason, I don't find myself having that kind of time when I get home from work.
It's all good.
But I recently went out to watch Alien Romulus in theaters. I shelled out money for the IMAX experience. I unfortunately did not find a popcorn bucket like I've seen other people have. Like they have one where that looks like the head, or they have one where it's like a glass jar. They have one of the facehuggers in it. Unfortunately, I could not find a way to waste money and buy one. I did look for it in theaters. I didn't see it. However, I can say Alien Romulus, it's so good. It is everything I wanted it to be. It takes everything that was good about Alien and Aliens, throws it into a blender, takes some of the good ideas from Prometheus, adds that into...
I like Prometheus.
I like the vast majority of Prometheus. There's just some plot issues I just don't like.
Well, I almost look at it as not an Alien movie.
I wish it wasn't an Alien movie.
Because it could literally just be its own thing, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good.
I wish
it was.
And
what's her name?
Charlize Theron?
Charlize Theron.
You mean Rooney Mara? The main character?
Get the fuck out of here. No.
Clearly, we have a difference of opinion.
Okay. Anyway,
In any event, Alien Romulus, it is really, really good.
how was the main chick also did Civil War?
She did. Kaylee Spaney.
Yeah. Did you see Civil War?
I did not. I heard it was
actually very good.
I heard it was incredibly mid.
I liked it a lot. That's literally why I bought a film camera and started to get it.
God, you're one of those people.
I'm impressionable. It's actually been very fun. But
That's
the actual movie
Well,
itself,
maybe I'll get around to watching it.
it was good. Either way.
She also shows up in
Yeah,
the
didn't she do something
awful
else?
Pacific Rim sequel that we don't talk about.
Oh yeah. God,
However,
that was
she is
terrible.
really good in this.
Okay.
Granted, she doesn't.
She's not Ripley.
She's not Ripley. No one's Ripley.
God,
That's
no one
okay.
wants to be Ripley, dude. Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver in the first.
Sigourney Weaver.
Lets me talk.
Like even the name Sigourney.
Granted, her name it sounds very ugly. However, in the first two, I think she's very attractive.
It was on the TV at work the last couple of days. They've been since
Which one?
Like they've been doing like a marathon because the new movie came out, and every time I look over, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good.
Whatever. Anyway.
Especially when she shaved her head, I was like, oh.
Well, that's because number 3 is
she's got like some skeleton-y vibes that I'm like,
Alien 3 is considered by the vast majority of the Alien fan base, as it were, as the big mistake. Like Alien 3 is just genuinely considered to be awful. It is a shame that the only one that David Fincher ever got to direct was, in his words, if I remember the quote correctly, sodomized by the executives at Pinewood. There was apparently a lot of executive meddling. There was a lot of re-editing and reshooting.
Like there's a lot of that for a lot of movies everywhere.
That's just the way he tells it. In any event, the finished product, at least for Alien 3, is real bad. Circling back to Romulus, though, what I really was impressed by was it was finally scary again. And I feel like
the trailers did look scary.
Oh,
dude, the red and the face huggers just
so
especially because like they're giving like spider vibes.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. So I don't believe I've mentioned it on board. I don't like bugs. Bugs can fuck
me
right
neither.
off.
I think I saw King
bugs
Kong
and
too
spiders
early.
Are creepy, and I hate
that. And like I think I saw Eight-Legged Freaks too early as a kid.
I believe we both did.
Terrifying.
And what was very well done in Romulus is that the face huggers are all practical, and they all crawl around in a much more spider-like version than they have in the past. And oh my god, I hated it so much. Like I was creeped the fuck out in theater. I jumped multiple times in my chair. I was so glad it got back to being a horror movie, because arguably Aliens, the sequel, is much more of just an action movie. And that's okay. You know, it's kind of the contrast between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2. Terminator 2 is an action movie. You're supposed to watch Terminator 1 and be kind of scared of the robot.
Yeah, I mean, again, I feel like we're really jumping subjects, but I don't really give a shit at this point. But
it's actually not that much of a jump subject, because the first Terminator is also Ridley Scott, and the second Terminator is also James Cameron, and the exact same thing happened with the Alien franchise.
Because like I was very bored with the first Terminator.
Really,
I was very bored.
It's a much slower movie.
The second one, I was less bored, but I also
it has the worst kid character,
the worst kid actor. And again, maybe it's not his fault he was a kid. But like, holy shit! Dude.
It's not his fault, but it is the only thing he's ever been remembered for, is being
terrible,
a awful child actor.
Oh my god! I was like, I want to chuck you off like into a highway or something. Like,
in contrast, though, all the actors in Romulus are younger. No one's like in their 30s. Everyone's like a 20-year-old, because they're essentially orphans trying to steal, spoilerly plot stuff off of this space station floating over their mining planet.
Okay.
And they all do really good. And what's helped for this is that there's not actually a whole lot of dialogue. There is just enough dialogue to move scenes around, but it skirts the problem. Well, not only that, but it skirts the problem that I think Alien Resurrection falls into, is that there is
Oh,
so
Alien Resurrection.
much
Yes.
dialogue.
I
And,
never
and
saw
it,
that. I don't know.
it's not great either. It's the weird French one. They got the
Is
director
the,
from
the
Amelie.
alien going like, wee wee?
They got the director from Amelie to make an Alien.
That seems like such an odd. I mean, maybe even if I didn't know if it was bad or not, I would say it would have been very odd as a choice.
It was an odd
Also,
choice.
That's a great movie.
Amelie's a great romance
Ugh.
movie. I own it physically. It's fantastic. Yeah, but what's great in this is that there's not that much dialogue weighing down any of the scenes. There's a lot of things it does that I was completely surprised by. They bring back some characters from the first movie that they kind of sort of kill off. They show up in this one because chronologically, this one quite literally takes place directly after the first one ends. Because the first one ends with her blowing up the Nostromo, thinking she's killed the original alien, and her jetting off in the escape pod. This one picks up with the evil Weyland-Yutani Corporation searching the wreckage for her, looking for her, because like, hey, Ripley, where's our shit?
That's cool. Okay.
And yeah, I cannot say enough good things about this movie. The
Well,
music is
I'm sure they're gonna make more of them.
it's already made its budget back.
That's
And
good.
something I was thinking about.
It's been out for like a week.
It's been out for about a week and a half. Came out last weekend. What I was actually thinking about today when I was driving into work, just apropos of nothing. This was made for $80 million. It was an incredibly cheaply made movie comparatively.
I know. When we say comparatively, I was like, I feel like budgets have changed so much over time to where 80 million is a lot, but
80 million is a lot of money to have. It's not a lot of money to spend if you're making a movie. And what I was thinking of, to get Robert Downey Jr. back.
Oh, yeah, I
his
saw that.
opening salary is $80 million, which means that movie's budget is going to be such a huge balloon. There's no way in hell
that they're going to make their money back.
They'll ever make their money back.
No.
You know, it's just an interesting thought of saying, oh, okay, this was 80 million. That's how much they're paying one actor in an Avengers movie. And those movies have casts of like 10 or 12 arguably main characters. Like, that is an insane financial strategy.
I can't remember if it was 80 million for one or if it was 80 million for like.
It's 80 million for him to come back and star in the last two Avengers movies. That they're planning.
Okay, so 40. But still, yes, it's a lot.
You know,
think of all the.
If your movie is $100 million to make, that's almost half your budget is one actor.
Sure, their budget's going to be more than that.
Insane.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, Romulus.
Okay.
Fantastic. I loved it. I will probably go and watch it in theaters again. Probably not going to pay IMAX prices again, but like I will definitely go watch it in theaters again. I've already been listening to the music on Spotify by the very talented Benjamin Wallfish, who you would know from Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, dope. Okay.
He shows up in things like The Invisible Man and Twisters.
Speaking of, I actually want to see if I can go find a showing of Twisters.
If you can find a showing of Twisters, I will go watch it with you. I had a good time watching it.
Okay. Yeah,
but that's my whole very unbiased review of Alien Romulus.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great. If you are into anything like science fiction or horror of any kind, you have to go watch it. Even if you can find like a cheap showing, it is 100% worth your money. It is interesting though. Me and my coworkers are all kind of into the same kind of movies as well, and a lot of them went out to see Romulus as well. The ending twist, if you will, in the past 10-15 minutes, like split us down the middle of, oh, I like this, or oh, this doesn't land with me whatsoever. It is going to be divisive depending on how you feel about the last 10 minutes of the movie. I really enjoyed it. That was kind of where they decided to do something new. They brought some newer ideas. I
appreciate that. Even if I don't know it, I still usually appreciate it because I'm like, oh, it's
it depends on what you find scary, and that's why horror as a genre is sometimes just not appealing to some people, because some people are scared by different things. And what I think this does actually really well is that it covers a lot of different phobias. Like you got arachnophobia for the facehuggers crawling at you. You've got, I don't know, xenomorphophobia. The xenomorph is scary. Like they go back to not showing it a whole bunch in this. Like it's a bad time. You have a lot of them trying to squeeze through very tight spaces, and that was uncomfortable as well. You have some drowning stuff. It's all good. It's really, really well done. Cannot speak highly of it enough. The same director also made Don't Breathe, which is also really good, and the recent Evil Dead movie. And if you're in for some gory demon killing, that's a great time. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, I was like, I'm just gonna let you.
It's a
No,
I can really like.
I can appreciate you having passion for it.
Really.
Is there anything coming up that you're like, oh, I actually want to see this?
Honestly, that was kind of like the last big thing on my radar.
I was talking with coworkers.
I would still like to maybe try watching Cuckoo because I've heard it is just bizarre as shit. But other than that,
like Beetlejuice, I don't give.
I'm gonna file that under Gladiator 2 of it might be decent, but it's entirely unnecessary.
Yeah, like I'm at least semi looking forward to Gladiator 2 because at least what I will say at least is like at least the first movie I liked a lot. The first Beetlejuice I had almost no interest in.
I really enjoy the first Beetlejuice. I believe I bought it as a disc.
I've seen it. I don't.
But it's been a very long time since I rewatched it.
It's such a weird movie.
Well, it was Burton when he was his most Burton-y, and there was no one telling him no.
Yeah, I suppose so. It's pretty out there.
It is very odd, but I really enjoyed it. I have no desire to watch a sequel.
Yeah, not really. What's the Zoe Kravitz directed? Don't Blink.
I thought it was Double Blink, but I know what you're talking about.
It's Don't Blink. It's Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum. Yeah. People losing their memory, people disappearing. It might be interesting.
It could be interesting.
I'm kind of waiting on. There's a few talking heads I like to get movie impressions from that I tend to trust for some solid, balanced opinions.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna kind of wait on that one.
Yeah,
I would love it to be good.
I hope so, because like
I would say that's probably my opinion about most things. It is better for movie going in general if the movies that are being put out are good. I don't think anyone wants there to be a bomb. Like no one wants there to be bad content.
That's true. I can agree with that. Yeah, I can't think of really anything else before the end of the year.
There's the Rock movie where he has to save Santa with Chris Evans
and J.K. Simmons. Have you heard about the stuff on set from that movie?
I've kind of heard about the stuff on set about the movie. I'm very rocked out.
Oh yeah,
I
could. Oh, have you been hearing about all the Borderlands stuff?
So Borderlands
just
is so bad.
It might bankrupt the actual.
It might bankrupt Lionsgate because
which is wild.
The fact that movie cost so much money and it was in development for like 5 years.
Well, it was their production budget, and then I think they spent almost the exact same amount on marketing and everything.
Nuts. And I
think it's made like 8 million.
I'd heard 5.
I think it was 8 worldwide.
That makes sense.
But still, oh my god!
And I love Borderlands. I own all of them. I have a little Claptrap statue on my bookshelf.
They just announced number 4.
Genuinely, I don't want them to make it.
It's already been announced.
I know it's been announced. I know it's going to come out. I know it's going to be crap. It's too much time has passed from when that kind of humor would have been good. There's no way a Borderlands 4 comes out and doesn't feel dated upon release.
Yeah, I feel like the whole
it's almost like a Deadpool-esque humor.
Yeah,
but it was like Deadpool-esque humor that was cool in like 2011.
That's what I was like. It's from a different era.
Yes.
But
so I am extremely skeptical of the quality of that, but it's just
weird because there's several people in it that are like not small names,
and that's probably why the budget was
probably.
How do you have Kate Blanchett, Jack Black,
Kevin
Jamie
Hart.
Lee Curtis, Kevin Hart? These are not small names. By the way, everyone is miscast. Every single person
Eh,
is.
what's his name? I feel like Jack Black's probably fine.
He's voicing Claptrap.
Yeah.
Get the original voice actor. Why would you need to recast?
Yeah,
It's
of
a
all the
CGI
characters,
character.
Yeah, that's fair.
That
That
doesn't
is
make
fair.
any sense. Get the original voice actor, whoever that was. Like, I like Jack Black a lot. He doesn't need to be there. And then every other character is either way too old or like way too. I mean, the greatest respect to Kevin Hart. He's too small. Roland's supposed to be like this super soldier guy, and Kevin Hart is breaking 5 foot. It just the decisions that were made with the
Yes.
Borderlands movie are baffling to me.
Yes.
Like absolute craziness. I'm almost impressed they released it.
I will say, I feel like you can't have. I mean, you probably can have good movies without bad movies, but like, there's always going to be bad movies.
There's always going to be bad
and
movies. We rarely
the
see
cream rises kind of vibe.
we rarely see bad movies of this level where you have someone release something like Madam Web, and instead of saying,
Oh, I just saw that for the first time. Did we talk about this last week?
we talked about this last
Oh
week.
my god.
You have someone release something like Madam Web, and instead of saying, let's not, as a separate company, release something that is just as bad, they take it as competition and make something worse.
Is it the same company?
It's not the same
Oh,
company.
for a second I was like, oh no.
No. It's not the same company, but it's like, oh, we're the worst movie of the year. Hold my beer. I got
Yes.
Borderlands. Like that. That is insane.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting that I can't think of any like dramas coming out.
I feel like there's probably going to be maybe more trailers for stuff.
More
before
towards the Christmas era.
Exactly.
But like, I don't know.
But there's nothing.
That's actually not that far away.
What's the romantic drama? Andrew Garfield,
Oh, with the
Florence
horse?
Pugh. The horse. Oh
So,
yes.
From the poster where it
Yes, the horse.
the fucking cracked out horse. Yes.
I had almost completely forgotten about that.
I don't remember what it's called.
It's something.
Oh, there's the Blake Lively PR disaster movie that's happening right now.
I've been hearing a lot about that too.
There's
yes.
It Ends With Us out right now, but that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we've rambled on for a good enough time.
I
Why don't
think
we
so.
close out our credits and remind everyone to check out our social medias, give us a thumbs up, give us a star, hit that bell, whatever it is our social media platforms employ. Please do that.
And again, don't forget, because we are committed.
We are committed. We're doing
the true history of the Kelly Gang. Russell Crowe, Charlie Hunnam, Dylan Holt, and I'm blanking on his name.
The other guy.
Otherwise, that was X-Men from 2000.
I've been Hayden. This is Duncan. Please join us again next episode.